Alright, so there we go. So, this video is about going in my experience in foster homes. You know, like the do's and do nots or whatever. So, if you're a parent and your children have gone into foster care, for one, try not to worry. I know it's going to be difficult to say, but try not to worry because there is a certain requirement. Now, I know we've seen in the news where this isn't always the case, but very seldom is it different from this because there's so many rules and regulations. They have to eat, they have to feed them, they have to keep them clean, they have to make sure that they're going to school and all that. If the caseworkers find out that they're not doing that, and then there's problems. But try not to worry yourself where you're sick and you can't do anything, or you get depressed, or you turn to drugs and stuff like that, because that's not going to help the situation. You have got to be able to, for whatever reason they got taken out of the home and into custody, you have got to fight to get them back. And so when we were growing up, my mother had 4 girls, and by our dad, her husband, and things just didn't go well in their marriage, and he was kind of abusive, and he wasn't a very good provider, and so she had to come back to Kansas City, where her family was, and she from Phoenix, Arizona, and so she kind of had to do things on her own, and she was working jobs, and we were at home because back then they didn't. Nowadays, if you're working and you have small children and you're like, well, I can't work because I don't have a babysitter, they will pay. The state will pay for your child care. At least in Kansas, they will. But back then, they didn't do that. And so you had to either pay for a sitter or you had to make do. And so, she kind of went through a struggle there. And then my sister was sick and everything like that. And so my mother kind of, had a mental breakdown. And so us being taken into foster care was behind that, was a product of that. And so, try not to show my goods. Anyway, that was my toe. And so, my mother, she worried so much about us. She worried about how they were taking care of our hair. She worried about how they was treating us and all this and that, and it really consumed her that her babies were not with her, and it wasn't good. She was very emotional and stuff like that, and we all were, because they only give you like 30 minutes a week to have a visit with the parent. And so you got this person, this stranger, that would come in and go get you from school and have to speak. God forbid it's traffic or anything like that, because that's cutting into your time for your visit, which is very unfair to the state. That is very unfair. You ought to have some sort of a grace period in there to where if the visit does not start until they actually get in the presence of their parent, especially if it's the fault of the driver or traffic or the school, whatever it is. So anyway, so you got these 30-minute once a week visits, and you're sitting there and you're emotional, you're crying and you're hugging and you're staring at each other, and then mom would try to have something cooked because she wanted us to eat some of her home cooking, and it was just really dramatic and drama filled, which is dramatic. But so yeah, I would just say try to relax, try to breathe, try to let things be as calm and cool and normal as possible. See, the thing with that is that God said anybody that loves mother or father or sister or brother more than him is not worthy of him. And you say, what does that mean? That means that anything that you allow to come in between your peace of mind, anything that you allow to come in between your that you allow to break your spirit. It's okay to have to grieve and to mourn and to have righteous indignation. Maybe your kids were unjustly taken from you. Maybe it wasn't your fault. Somebody could have called SRS on you just hating or whatever. But you don't want to allow anything. You want to first understand that God gave you those children. Whether you birthed them or not, the Lord gave you, your children to be a steward over, just like he gave you your body to be a steward over. Your body is not your own. You are bought with a price. And so everything that God has given you, you are a steward over. And so you have to remember, Lord, these are your children before they were mine. You know what I'm saying? Lord, I'm just a steward over them. You need to take care of them. You need to make sure that they're okay. You need to see over them and watch over them. Put them in God's hands is what I'm saying. Because you will drive yourself up a wall somewhere trying to worry about something that you have no control over. And so once you put them in God's hands, and then you're able to absorb the peace that passes all understanding, and get through it. That's whether they sick in a hospital. My mother let my sister's illness and passing, she let that shake her to the core. She let her love for her child be stronger than her faith in God. What I'm saying is that when she lost the child, she lost faith in God. And so, and I know it's easy for me to say because my children have never been in foster care, but I was in foster care. And I'm determined that I'm not going to let things and I have to remind myself of this, but I'm not going to let things come in between my peace of mind that God has given, or my joy that God has given. Because if God allowed me to go through it, then I know he's going to, bring me through it. If he allowed me to come to it, he's going to bring me through it. And so, and if you're a child in foster care, I remember, it's natural to want your mom or to be around your family. I miss my cousins and I miss my friends in the old neighborhood. But you've got to say, Lord, what is it that you're showing me? What is it that you want me to learn from these people? What is it that you want me to teach these people? I remember we had a foster dad that was 72 years old and a foster mom that used to have seizures. And I caught her having a seizure one day. But what I saw in that relationship, because she was an older woman and he was a younger man, but he loved that older woman that was no longer beautiful. He loved that older woman that was no longer sexy. He loved that older woman that could no longer cook dinner. She could barely talk, but occasionally she would find that record. She had a record from when she was a gospel singer, or it was some sort of a singer back in the black and white, 50s and 60s. And she had her little dress on and everything, had her little wig on, her and 3 other ladies. And they used to sing. And she would find that record and play it and sit there at the dining room table and anyway. But he loved her so much that he took care of her even in her old age. And he loved him some Ganu. So I learned that, and I learned how to take care of babies properly. As I said, with my mother having her mental breakdown and everything, I didn't know I would get pregnant at 15. So I learned through being in the group home. They had a baby there, and I learned the proper way how to do that. And just growing up poor to where you're now in a house with people who have over an abundance, it definitely opens you up to a different lifestyle than what you were used to. So learn what you need to learn from them, or let them learn what they need to learn from you, and grow from it, and take that experience with you later on in life, because you're going to need it. But don't allow anything to make you bitter. Allow it to make you better. And being in foster care is just a temporary problem, because you're not going to always be 5, 6, 7 years old. You're not going to always be 14, 15, and 16. And you want to have a solid emotional foundation. And seeing your parents always crying and broken up about your separation is not helping. Nor is it you grieving the people that you see, or the children that you see that have their parents. It's going to be a little hard. It's going to be a little difficult at first, but you have got to condition yourself to accept where you are, and to love where you are, and to know that it's not going to always be like that. It's not going to always be like that, and that God knows best, and that if God has allowed you to experience something, it's because he wants to get the best out of you and the best to you. So that's the best advice I can give, because You know, we had a lot of different races, a lot of different cultures, a lot of different experiences. I mean, my past is so colorful, and I'm not just talking about promiscuity either, but my past is so colorful with knowledge. It's like a smorgasbord of knowledge that I learned, that I encountered through foster care, that has made me the woman that I am today. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful, my foster care peoples. And oh yeah, and I want to admonish more African American people to open their homes up to being foster parents or adoptive parents, because the statistics show that a lot of our black children are not being, adopted, or they're in foster care with different races, which is fine. I'm not saying it's not fine, because I was one of those. But it's just, it would be nice if someone that, resembles them. I remember how uncomfortable it was for me when I would, get out of school and have to get in the car with, a bunch of white people. Not to say anything's wrong with that. So you gotta do all this disclaimers and all this when you make these videos, because people, they will leave comments. But I mean, I'm just saying. So we can't just be worried about me and my 3, or what they say, my 4 and no more. We can't just be like that. We have got to open our hearts and our homes up, because the best gift you can give is to sow into the lives of others. And I thank God for the people that have sown into my life.